and welcome to episode 61 of the SAP on Azure Video Podcast. Today is October 1st, and together with Goran and Robert, we're here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
So today it is, again, only the three of us. What I wanted to do is give a quick overview of some of the things that we are currently working with SAP and provide a quick outlook of, or actually show some of the things that we have been doing for the last few months. We already had a call with Veronika Rega some time back where she talked about the expanded partnership between SAP and Microsoft. And what I had planned for this episode was really show you some of the things that we have actually been working on and show you where you can actually sign up, how you can test and use some of these scenarios. So that will be the topic of today. But before we go there, as always, we'll look at some of the news from this week. And I actually want to start with something that has been in the works for quite some time, and that is our openSAP course, Building Applications on SAP Business Technology Platform with Microsoft Services. So we have been working with SAP for quite some time now to create this course. So we'll, for those of you who don't know, the openSAP platform is a free of charge learning platform from SAP, where there's tons of content about SAP, obviously, how an SAP S/4HANA system works, what you can do with the business technology platform, and so on. And now we have this course that will talk about different integration aspects. So we have 4 weeks. The basics about business technology platform and Azure. Then we'll talk about an integration scenario using the business technology platform and some Azure services. We'll talk about an extension scenario. So having a Teams integration. And then we'll talk about a data to value scenario where we talk about the SAP Analytics Cloud and some integrations in the SAP in the Microsoft area. So I hope this will be a very good course. Obviously, we have a lot of content, but actually what we also have is a lot of exercises. So if you want to follow along, I mean, you can just watch the videos and look at the presentations, but we also have a fairly extensive GitHub repository there with lots of exercises, so you can really follow most of these scenarios that we are showing here also along in your own Azure subscription, or you get then an Azure trial and run it there, similar with the B2B trial and so on. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It starts November 10th. You can roll in or sign up to this course now, and again, I hope it will be good. Good. The next thing is an announcement from Microsoft to support now open source projects with Azure credits. So basically, if you have an open source project, there is a requirement that it has to be part of the open source initiative license, basically, or you have to be under this license. And then I think for 1 year you can get Azure credits for your project, so you can get started and use this to develop your solution. So I think that's also a nice investment that or supports that we're doing here for open source projects. Good. If we switch to the next one, there's an announcement for an European Eclipse Data connector. So as part of Gaia X, so the European cloud initiative, I think that's how you could call it. There's an approach to talk about a setup if you as a customer or a company and you do B2B business basically, and you need to share your information, or you want to share your information across the different platforms to different suppliers and other partners of yours. Then there are obviously scenarios where your engineering software might run on AWS, your factory systems run on Azure. You are using systems by SAP, and then you're also using services on the Deutsche Telekom. And now how do you do this? How can you handle who gets access to your data? What can others do with your data and stuff like that? So the idea of this European Eclipse Data Connector is now to define the policies, the processes, how you can actually define the scope of what should be shared, where and to whom, and what can they do with the data. So I think that's a fairly interesting project there, where we are cooperating with lots of other European customers as well. Yeah, you can see here there are different Fraunhofer Institute, Daimler, BMW, Deutsche Telekom. So there are quite a few companies involved in this, and yeah, the idea again is just to push this European, or the way how customers and partners can interact and exchange this data in a way that they feel comfortable with. Along the same lines or similar lines, there's an announcement about the trusted cloud principle, and again, it's great to see it's not only Microsoft, it's really a lot of different cloud providers. Again, Microsoft and SAP are part of this, where the initiators of this initiative created some principles or guidelines of how governments should work with customer data, basically. So for example, here, governance should engage customers first with only narrow exceptions. Customers should have a right to notice. So I think a lot of things that Microsoft has been very, very actively already pushing for, to really make sure that yeah, the customer is the owner of the data in the end. But obviously, if there are governance that require access, that this is transparent, and that the discussion should be between the government and the customer and so on. So I think it's a nice, or it's an interesting approach that is happening here with this trusted cloud principle concept. Okay, moving on. We talked about governance and how you work with your data, how you control your data. And actually, when it comes to governing data, Azure Purview comes hopefully to your mind. And the great thing now is Purview is GA, so you can now use really Purview in a in productive environments to really govern your data across different data silos or data pools. And yeah, now it's GA, so now you can use it in a productive way.
So customer will be extremely protected with the multiple security layers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many things.
Protection of the protection of the protection. Yeah, great.
Exactly. There's so many things that you need now to consider and keep in mind.
And I hope we will not be lost in translation somewhere.
Yeah.
Lost in protection.
Yeah, I'm already dizzy, but okay.
Yeah. Okay. Then there's a really interesting event happening, the Datacenter Tour virtual experience. So I think some of us were lucky and were able to visit a data center really on site. We talked, I think, in the last episode about the remote assistance, the remote auditing of a data center. But if you actually want to take a closer look at how an Azure data center looks inside, then from inside, well, on October 5th, there's an event, a 2-hour event, where we take a look at what's inside an Azure data center. So what is Microsoft doing in the area of the data centers, and what are we doing with servers, network storage, and so on. And the interesting thing is that we're also really doing this time in the context of also SAP. So actually, if you look at the participants, obviously we have our data center experts that normally also do the tours when you're on site. But we also have here Axel Vetter from SAP joining this this data center tour, this virtual data center tour. And we have Dara, global black belt from SAP on Azure. So there will be, I mean, I don't know the exact content, but it looks like we'll also really focus on the unique things that we're doing around SAP in the context of Azure. So I'm definitely looking forward to this event. Next thing, another event. Now we will talk about a few events. Microsoft Research is turning 30. So I wasn't aware of this actually, but Microsoft has had this Microsoft Research in operations or organization now for 30 years, and this looks like a really nice outlook summary, looking back, what have we done event. So you can see, here Satya Nadella is a speaker, but then also really from research, obviously there are a lot of speakers that provide an insight in what they're doing and show what are the benefits. And I think it is really interesting that Microsoft has such a huge research organization where a lot of things, I think the HoloLens came out of research and a lot of other things that Mark Rusinovich is also talking about when he talks about his data center tour. So I think this can be a really interesting event as well, with lots of insights of what Microsoft is actually doing there from a research perspective. Another probably more popular event is the Microsoft Ignite. I think we had not yet talked about this, but beginning of November, the next Ignite is. So you might remember we had split this up in two virtual events. Yeah, so this is still virtual, obviously. So I think, probably again lots of interesting content. I'm looking forward to Mark Rusinovich's data center tour. As well as always, then I think we have some nice sessions around SAP planned as well. So definitely worth attending. Okay, then switching sides, there's another conference happening. It's called the abapConf 2021, and as the title suggests, this is all about ABAP. This looks like a really nice conference to really where they really focus on ABAP, and ABAP is not dead. That's the the tagline, I would say. So they have some nice speakers, some speakers that have been around for a very long time with ABAP, some speakers that are very familiar in the ABAP community. So I think this is a really great event if you are interested in ABAP. So here, Tobias Hoffmann, Sören Schlegel, and Johann Flößleiter, they initiated this conference, and yeah, I think it's really a community-driven event, I would say. So I'm definitely also looking forward to that. Although I'm not a hard-code ABAP developer anymore. But actually, speaking of ABAP, Harald Cook also released another blog post. And in this blog post, he talks about Steampunk, or the ABAP runtime, or whatever it's called in the business technology platform, because obviously there are a lot of customers, or SAP is trying to get more and more customers obviously using the business technology platform. But if you look at the hardcore SAP developer, I think a lot of them are still very much focused on ABAP. And with the ABAP runtime for BTP, SAP is really enabling these ABAP developers to also use the business technology platform. And it has been around for quite some time. Now, in this blog post, what Harald talks about is a new version, I would say, or a new flavor, and that's called the embedded Steampunk. So the idea apparently, and I have to admit, I don't know exactly what it means, but the idea now is that with the embedded version, you're actually not only able to access this or to create side-by-side extension scenarios, but since this is apparently running right next to your S4 system, either in the public cloud or actually also on premises, what you now can do is you can also access local interfaces. So if you have a very high performance where the side-by-side extension concept doesn't work because of latency or frequent calls or whatever, then that's my interpretation. You can now also call local APIs directly on the ABAP stack. So sounds interesting. I actually hope there is an upcoming episode from the developers.sap.com YouTube channel, or on the channel there Harald will join, and I guess they'll answer a lot of questions on the embedded Steampunk scenario. So that's all that I had this week. I know but this time I think it was a lot, or it was a little more than usual, but I thought there were some, or I hope there were some cool things there that are also relevant for our listeners. Good. So with this, I would like to switch over to the focus topic of today. And as mentioned, what I want to do is talk a little about the results of the partnership, because I think for some customers that just saw the announcement, that just saw, okay, Satya and Christian Klein have now joined the stage and talked about the Teams integration and stuff like that. It was okay, but then it was fairly quiet, or I think for a lot of customers and partners, it was fairly quiet. And I actually want to show that there are a lot of things that you can do today. So a lot of things that out of this announcement that Christian and Satya did in the beginning of this year as part of the RISE announcement, where I think Christian put a lot of focus on the Teams integration, which makes a lot of sense and obviously is very, very public and very visual, or very impactful for the end user. But there's a lot of things that are also relevant for the developers, for the administrators of an SAP system, and that's what I really want to take a closer look at. So actually, if you drill down, oops, wait, no, that was one too much. If you drill down the announcement, and we showed a similar slide when Veronica joined us a few episodes back. But when we look at the announcement, we have these two pillars basically. We have the Teams integration, and we have the work that we're doing around the business technology platform, running, installing an SAP system, looking at developers, the whole life cycle environment there, how you can develop new applications and so on. So on a high level, these are the topics that SAP and Microsoft are jointly working together right now. So I want to start with the Teams integration, and without going too much into detail there, we talked about the different personas that we are addressing, and we actually can see that a lot of things are already happening there. And what I quickly wanted to do was actually to switch to a Teams environment. So if I'm here in Teams, and you can do this with your own Teams application as well. If you go to the App Store, and if you look if you search for SAP, then you can actually already find quite a few applications there. There is the Business by Design integration, and unfortunately my demo by design system just went away, so I cannot actually show you this implementation. But if you have by design, then it's a easy wizard. You just add this to your Teams. You add the your tenant ID, and then you're basically good to go. You can then have really a by design experience in Teams. I mean, you can select what kind of dashboards or scenarios you want to highlight in Teams, but it's really a very nice and easy experience. The other one that we already also talked about is the SAP Sales Cloud integration. So similar experience, you just add it to Teams, and then in your Teams meetings, actually, you have the possibility to connect to the SAP Sales Cloud. So again, unfortunately, I don't have a system for that, but there is a really nice video available that shows this integration. So if I start here from the SAP Sales Cloud, I can say, well, I want to create a new meeting request in Teams, so I can add some attendees. Then this meeting obviously shows up in my calendar, and when the time is right, then when the meeting happens, I just join it. I authenticate with my SAP Sales Cloud system, so that I really have this connectivity between the meeting and the SAP Sales Cloud environment. And then, yeah, what you can see here is that you have this SAP Sales Cloud app directly in your Teams meeting. So here you can see you can take notes, you can adjust the data in your SAP Sales Cloud system, and everything can be done directly from Teams. So I think this is a really nice integration that shows a first small step in how you can actually embed your SAP solutions into Teams. Okay, so with this, I actually want to leave it at that. This is all about Teams, and now I want to focus on the other topics that we have been working on. And again, I want to really highlight that these things, and again, these are only the things that you can actually touch and use by yourselves. There are a lot of other things that are still in the backlog, but these are the things that you can really start today. So let's start with the things where after this call, right after this watching this video or listening to the podcast, you can open up the browser and get started. So the first thing is this SAP S/4HANA production deployment with SAP Cloud Appliance Library. So you know me, I've talked about the CAL for several times, which allows you to deploy a demo environment, a sandbox environment within a few clicks on Azure, which is really fantastic. So if your business comes in and they want to see the latest features of S/4HANA, then you can just spin up or select the solution on the Cloud Appliance Library, deploy it, and then your business users can immediately test it. That's all fine, but this is only so far relevant for non-prod. Thank you. And now what we've been doing with SAP is that you can actually do the same thing for production systems. So if you need a new S/4HANA system, well, you can just go into CAL and deploy a productive S/4HANA system. This is currently in beta, so if you are interested in there's a blog post, and we have the links and everything obviously in the show notes again, where you can sign up, and then from there you can install an SAP system in your Azure environment. And actually, let me quickly show you how this looks like. So if I'm logged in here to the Cloud Appliance Library, then I can see here all the solutions that are available for the demo environments. But if I actually log on, let me see if I can quickly do this, because you need to be whitelisted for this. So now I'm logged on, and if I look here for productive systems, and I can see down here there's and again, this is in the pilot, so you need to sign up for the pilot for this, but here you can just say, look, I want to deploy a productive system. You can see here the suggestions of how this would look like, the different systems that you can provide or that you can select. There's a getting started guide, and then, well, it's just like any other the deployment process. So you just go to the wizard here. You select your subscription that you want to deploy your system to, and then you give it a name, S/4HANA. You provide a password for all the master password for all the things, and then you just go through the wizard. So you create or select your transit networks, shared services, workload, NetApp configuration, and so on, and then you just go through the whole wizard. So I'm not doing this now. You just select a few sizes. How big should the system be? Do you want to have high availability or not? And then you click deploy, and then the Cloud Appliance Library deploys the whole environment, a clean S/4HANA system into your Azure subscription. And I think for me that's really a beautiful scenario, and not only because I like CAL and with this that you're very easy or that it's very simple to deploy an SAP system, but we again provide customers and partners the choice. So remember, we had a few episodes back, we had Morgan and Kimo joining us, and they were talking about the open source Terraform and Ansible deployment. So if you are a customer that wants to modify and tweak and insert your own features in an SAP deployment, then you can choose the open source version of the Terraform and Ansible script that we from a Microsoft side are very much focusing on. If you are saying, well, no, this is too complicated and I don't know what Terraform is and this is all too messy, then, well, the CAL deployment is, yeah, it's just clicking next, finish. And this is something that we've been working with SAP together. So the result is also a certified, jointly approved architecture between SAP and Microsoft. So you also get the best results, or a proven result of the SAP system. But it's really about choice. So depending on what you want to do, you can either go with CAL, or you can go, for example, with the Terraform deployment.
And Terraform will give you also support for different databases and operating system in the future, if that's needed. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. And that's also a very, very good point. Here, obviously, we are focusing very much on S/4HANA deployments.
Yeah.
There will be additional deployments as well, but this is, really the direction that also obviously SAP wants to go, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
With the Terraform, you have all this flexibility. If you need to install an older Java ABAP stack running SQL Server, then Terraform, the scripts will eventually also support that. I actually think SQL is already supported, but I need to double check. But yeah, but it's about choice that we provide to our customers here. Okay, good. So this is now for one thing that you can sign up, and I encourage you to do so, obviously, to test it. But this is for a greenfield, if you really want to start with a from scratch system. Another thing that actually Goran and I and others at SAP obviously have been working on very, very much is what we call the DMO to Azure, the database migration option to Azure. And the idea here behind this one is that a lot of customers still have an ECC system, an older NEDB system running on premises. And we know that around 95% of ERP customers have systems that are smaller than 5 terabytes. So basically what you can say, the migrations are more or less always the same. Obviously, if you have a 10 terabyte or a 20 terabyte system, then you really want to take a closer look at how do I do a migration to S/4HANA, how do I do a migration to Azure and so on. But for these smaller systems, I would say the process of what you need to do to migrate a system to Azure are fairly the same. There are a lot of similar patterns. The same thing applies to migrating or converting your SAP system from an ECC system to S/4HANA. So with this DMO to Azure approach, what we are now enabling customers to do is do a migration and conversion at the same time from your on-premises environment into Azure. And the beautiful thing there with the concept is that the let's call it the migration or conversion engine, the software update manager, can actually run in the cloud on Azure, which obviously means you can benefit from all the flexibility that Azure provides you with here. So for example, during the migration, you can really scale up your virtual machine that runs the software update manager on Azure. Once the migration is done, you can then shrink it down again, something that you would not typically do if you do this on premises. At the same time, this is again not only this migration, but it's also the conversion. So if you have done all the custom code checks and everything, then you can really in one step with one single downtime migrate your system from on premises and convert it into an S/4HANA system on Azure.
Yeah, because the current system was you need to export it, you need to copy those export, and then you need to start import, meaning it's more complicated, it takes more time, more downtime, which is always, with the migration, downtime is always something which is very critical, right? So here is basically, as you mentioned, Holger, in one step, typically you would have an on-premises. Of course, that system could be also, when we think in Azure,
yes.
Why not? Yeah, but still, either if it's on premises or it's in Azure, it's still very much simplified, because it's really, you go directly to the cloud in parallel. And it's also because of all those benefits and scale up, scale out, the downtime is also minimized. So definitely, that's something what many customers who are planning to move to S/4HANA and to Azure should definitely take a look for the. Actually, it's coming next, right? Those kind of stuff.
Yes.
The document and white paper, it's not yet there, but it's kind of coming. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
Perfect transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So just what Goran was saying, we've been working on a white paper together with Microsoft, with SAP, sorry, that outlines all the relevant steps. Actually, we are currently also looking for pilot customers to work with us on this. We already have a few that are interested in trying this. So yeah, the idea, if you are interested in, let us know, and we can then really jointly work with you on doing the first migrations to really see that everything is working perfectly fine. We'll also have a session at the upcoming SAP TechEd, where we'll talk about this in a little more detail. But as Goran said, I really hope that this white paper that will be published very soon. I think we're looking for this any day now. Yeah, you can also give it a try and test it out. Good, then with this, let's switch over to the next topic, private link. And I know we have talked about this a few times already, and actually we had we also had an episode with Martin Pankratz. Yeah, the resolution here is not very nice for this slide, but I'll make the link to the episode as well, where Martin really talked about how you can use the private link connectivity. Oops, sorry. The idea behind this private link connectivity is really, if you have your SAP system running on Azure, so then you can put a load balancer in front of your SAP system. You can enable this private link service, and then from BTP, you can call this private link service or the load balancer in the end without needing to open up any ports on your Azure VNet. So we know of some customers that have really high security requirements that are saying the VNet that hosts my SAP system should not be allowed to have incoming traffic, obviously, to the internet, but from the internet, but also no outgoing traffic from the VNet to the internet, which obviously means that I cannot use something like the SAP Cloud Connector, because the Cloud Connector needs to connect outwards to the business technology platform, and from there the business technology platform can then make this tunnel towards your SAP system. In this scenario with private link, this is no longer required. We can really have a locked down VNet where your SAP system is running, and still have the private link, the connectivity to your business technology platform running on Azure. So I think I just wanted to highlight. No, sorry. Okay, this was the blog post that I forgot to show for the CAL deployment. Sorry to go that. But here's the blog post again from Martin that talks about the private link service, how you can set it up. So the SAP private link service is currently available as a beta service on the business technology platform. So check it out if you're running a SAP workload on Azure, if you're using the business technology platform, then just follow this very extensive blog post. There's also a GitHub repo available from Martin that talks about the private link service. There's also a related blog from a related post from Philip from the SAP side that talks about this. And there's also then, I think this is the one here. No, there's also a reference to the tutorials. So there's also a tutorial on developers.sap.com that really guides you step by step through through the process of setting up the private link service. Okay, then one last thing that you can really try out today, and that's the OData connector and private preview for the Power Platform. So with the OData connector, what we can do is we can connect to OData services on the SAP side. So this is a service, or this is a function that is currently also available as a private preview. So you need to sign up to the private preview to be whitelisted, basically, so that you can consume the OData service. And I quickly also want to show you how this OData service works. But I also want to highlight at the same time, again, another great blog post from Martin Pankratz, where he talks about how you don't necessarily need to use the OData service, the OData connector, but there are also other ways how you can do that. And I think we talked about this in a previous episode as well, where we can use the Azure API management and the app services to connect to an OData service. So there's a way how you can import OData services into API management. And then from API management, there's actually also a nice scenario of how you can publish or create a custom connector, well, actually on this side here, so that it can be consumed on the Power Platform. So this is also definitely a valid alternative, I would say. I would even go a little further and say, especially here with the API management, we have a lot of flexibility, so we can easily introduce new policies and things, how to do authentication, stuff like that. And actually, Martin talks about these authentication topics as well in his blog post. So I think this is also a really interesting scenario if you are maybe already using Azure API management and app services. If you just want to use this out of the Power Platform, then again this OData connector can be a nice setup. And what I want to quickly show you here is just how this looks like. So I'm connecting here to this public OData service from the SAP ES5 system. So this is this developer system that SAP has available, where you can see here, this is an OData service that returns product information. So I don't know, here's this specific product, there's a product ID. So all of this is coming really from your SAP system. And now what you can do is actually, let me maybe start a new flow. So I'm here in Power Automate flow. And what I can just do is I can create an instant flow. You can see there are a lot of trigger points. So potentially from a Power App, or when I call an HTTP URL, or when something happens in Teams and stuff like that, I'll just use a manual trigger. So I just click on create here. Now, as a first step is I would search for the OData connector. So you can see here, there's the OData connector. And then I could, let's start with a simple read. I can just say, well, read some entities from the OData service. So let me actually quickly take this URL here. Here, let's go to the root, and let me just double check that I have the right user here selected for the authentication. So now what the OData connector does is it looks for the different collections that are part of this specific OData service. And here we go. And for example, we can see there's business partners, but there's also a product set. So it's a very guided experience. And with this, actually, we just saw there's this product HT1000, for example. With this, I can just save this very simple flow, obviously, and we can test it directly here from the Power Platform. I mean, obviously, what we could do on top, we could now take the results of this OData call, or we could have it as part of another flow when a tweet is sent or something like that. Then we want to do something and react on this. But just to show you, now we called this OData service from the SAP system. We are retrieving this product ID HT1000, and we get all the information like the weight and the price and stuff like that back. And so this is just a simple read. But where it's really interesting is if we actually do an update operation. So if I do an update, and those of you who work with SAP know that in case of updates, you always have to be, you have to make sure that you have all the CSRF token handling in place. You have to make sure that this whole e-tag handling and everything is done. Now, all of this is done in the background for you here. So if I now select here this product set, it fetches all the properties that I can actually update. So now what I would do is I would say for this product HD 1000, what I want to do is I just want to change the price to 100 euros, for example. I just click on save. And if I do the test again, then hopefully we will be able to update this data in our SAP system. So and without me doing all this token handling, all of this is done automatically via this OData connector. So it really simplifies the way how you can work with the data. So you can see here now that
without your knowledge of your data structure behind,
exactly. Yes, because it's easily exposed, and you can see the fields that are relevant. And now I just want to double check. So if I call the service again here from the SAP system, you can really see that the price has been updated, and all of this complexity that is part of an OData service is hidden behind this very structured approach in the OData flow. Okay, so with this, I quickly also just want to highlight again Martin Pankratz's blog post that talks about how you can actually connect via Azure API management, the Azure App Services, to an SAP OData service using authentication and everything. And I heard some rumors that he's also working on a blog post which then shows how you can actually expose this information also into the Power Platform. So watch out for this one. Good. Then one last thing for today. This is, well, it's planned for October, so it's planned for this month, and that's the Azure Blob Storage connector for SAP ILM. So if you are using ILM, so the lifecycle management solution from SAP, then you obviously want to store your archive, your documents and stuff like that. And so far, using ILM with Azure Blob Storage was not possible out of the box. So there were some partner solutions there that you could rely on. But now what we are planning to release in October is this native support for Azure Blob Storage. So really, you configure everything directly in ILM. You specify, and you have to set up a trust, obviously, between ILM and your Azure Blob Storage. But then you can archive your documents from the SAP system directly in Azure Blob. And I really think this will help a lot of customers that are already running their SAP systems on Azure, but also customers that are not running their SAP systems on Azure, that are maybe still on premises or something like that. They can now easily use Azure Blob Storage as an archive container. And obviously with this, you can also benefit from all the benefits that the Azure storage concept comes with it. So you can use locally redundant storages, but you can also replicate this to different regions to really make sure that the data that you archive from your SAP system is safe and secure in Azure. So, and that's all that I had or that I wanted to show actually as a quick outlook. So I really hope that some of the things were interesting to you, that if you saw something that you really sign up to these things. Again, the DMO to Azure, I think, is really fantastic. The CAL deployment is really nice. The different ways how to connect with the OData connector to the Power Platform and other tools. So I think there's some really exciting stuff that we've been working on in the recent month, and yeah, I hope that customers will test it out.
I mean, when you give such a snapshot, it's amazing how much is those kind of things and how much not only the backend but also surrounding story is there, right? So it's really happening a lot, and it's already there a lot.
Yeah, and that's really something that I mean, when I talk to customers and partners, there was unfortunately often the feedback, well, what actually have you done? What's the result? And well, the thing is, there are these announcements. Then we need to align. We need to come together. We need to get everything in process. And yeah, it takes some time to do something, to do the development. But we're always busy behind the scenes, I would say. And now we're seeing more and more and more of these of the results of our collaboration, and that's why I'm really happy about.
Cool.
Okay, good. Then with this, I think we're done for today. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. And yeah, we'll see each other again next week. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.